We didn't like writing. We didn't know what was going on. Well, it turns out he's dyslexic and he has ADHD, which made a lot of sense. Okay, well, of course, reading is hard. That makes sense now. Of course, he's having trouble in class because he has trouble sitting still. No wonder. But for me, an English teacher, it was really tough to think that my own kid would grow up not liking reading. I used to read to him forever. I mean, even when he was a baby. Whoa, come on back here. We used to read together. There's me and him as a baby reading Thomas the Tank Engine. I said, isn't there anything you like at school? He said, well, we're doing this one unit that's pretty cool. It's on Greek mythology. In fact, that's a picture of me and Haley doing this project. They dressed up as Greek gods, and it was like a wax museum. So they had these fake buttons at their feet, and you press the button, and each kid would recite their lines. So he was Hades, Lord of the Underworld. You like Greek mythology? Hey, I taught Greek mythology in 6th grade for like years. I can tell you some stories just to keep you interested. So I started telling him about all the different Greek gods. I would tell him about Zeus, the Lord of the Sky, and Ares, and Poseidon, the god of the sea. And then, sadly, I ran out of stories. And he said, Dad, tell me another one tonight. I said, well, bad news, buddy. There aren't any more. There haven't been any new ones in 2,000 years. He said, well, you just make one up then. Like, okay, make up a Greek myth. But I thought about that. I thought about the stories my own grandfather used to tell me, and I thought about Haley and how he had ADHD and dyslexia and how tough that was for him. I thought about Greek mythology. It all sort of came together in my head. And I made up a story off the top of my head. I said, okay, well, one day, there was this boy named Percy Jackson. And like you, Percy had trouble in school. He was ADHD and dyslexic, just like you. But you know what? He found out that if you have those two conditions, that could be a sign that you're very special indeed. You might be a demigod. Your dad or your mom might be a Greek god. You love that idea. So I made up this story off the top of my head, how Percy Jackson goes to this camp, Camp Half-Blood, and he meets Anakin. He finds out that his teacher is actually Chiron, who is a centaur, a horse from the waist down. Oh, back there. He's got his friend Grover, who's a goat from the waist down. And Tyson the Cyclops is actually his brother. So, when I was done telling him the story, he told me that I should write it down. He said, well, okay, I'll try. I'm kind of busy. I'm already teaching full-time, and I'm writing a book a year already. But I'll try. I did. I called it The Lightning Thief. But I didn't think anybody would like it. I let some of my own students read it, my 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And they were really, really good. I was nervous. I mean, I've sent manuscripts to New York. I was more nervous having my own students read this book. But they had great ideas. One kid said, well, okay, so he's got this magic pen. What happens if he loses it? Because that happens in middle school. Oh yeah, that's a good point. So I had to make it magic so it appears back in his pocket. Another girl said, the title of the book doesn't work because the original title was Son of the Sea God. And she said, you can't do that. That gives away who his dad is too soon. And I was like, oh yeah. And so I renamed it The Lightning Thief. I sent it off to the publishers. I used a fake name because I was kind of embarrassed. So I came up with this pseudonym, Ransom Reese, if you're curious. And I sent it off. I didn't expect anybody to publish it. Well, almost immediately, 7 different publishers wanted to publish the book. It went to this big auction. They were all bidding on it. And Hyperion Disney finally picked it up, and they were the winning bidder. They were so excited. They said, we have a great idea for the Percy Jackson books, and we want the first title, the first cover, to look like that. Oops, go back. There we go. Yeah. of boring. Can't you do something else? So their second try was this. This actually was the cover. It was published with this at the very beginning in 2005. If you went into the bookstore, look for the Lightning Thief, that's what it looked like. The cover artist was somebody who was used to designing video game covers. And his idea was to have all the monsters jumping out, which was kind of interesting. We have Medusa, we have the Minotaur. Everybody saw the three-headed dog and they said, "Hey, it's Fluffy from Harry Potter!" Fluffy's based on a Cerberus who's 2,000 years older than Fluffy, but whatever. And now if you go into the bookstore, the Lightning Thief has a different cover, which was designed by a guy named John Rocco. He lived in Brooklyn, he just moved to LA. But he had this totally different idea. He said, well, what if we make Percy have a different kind of look? There we go. Worked pretty well. That's the cover it has now. Every other country also had their own idea about what the book should look like. In England, they had several different ideas that they were working with. Their first idea, it's going to come up like 6 in a row, isn't it? They had this idea that had the lightning bolt on it. Oh, thank you.
That looks actually.
Can I just point to you and you can advance them? Ooh, super! Thank you. All right. Awesome. This was the first cover, but no one can tell what the thing was at the bottom. It's supposed to be the Master Bolt, but it doesn't really look like it. It's like a sewing thimble or something. So they had to change it and make